Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And we are getting real. We give you the entire iceberg, not just the tip as you get from most of the lamestream media. And Brittany certainly lots to talk about with the three big debates last night. And it wasn't even close in any of them. The Republicans mopped the floor, especially the much anticipated one in Pennsylvania between John Fetterperson, or woman, and Mehmet Oz.
I will tell you, I did watch that entire debate, and the fact that they still are continuing to push it's despicable, honestly. He is not in a position where he should be under this much pressure. He really needs to rest and get over that stroke. He needs to get healthy, and if he...
This was embarrassing on a national and international scale because, our friends and our enemies are watching.
Yeah, and we are covering debates. We are covering the election very, very intensely. That won't always be the case, but this is a huge election for, Georgia and just the U.S. in general. And the reason that a lot of these debates, Bill, are so important in, these races is because it will determine the direction of the country moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's why we're covering them all across the country, not just in Georgia. But, the Fetterman debate yesterday, I actually watched it with a liberal commentator because I think it's important that we also hear what they have to say and hear their arguments as to why we should vote for this person.
They're not journalists, but they play one on television.
Yes, and the guy that I listened to, he only criticized Oz. He didn't have anything to say about Fetterman. The only thing that he prefaced with was, of course, he has some auditory processing issues, but if the Republicans win, they're going to make sure that no one could get an abortion, that, the list went on and on and on, and it wasn't truthful, Bill. It was very much fabricated, and I hate seeing that.
The fact that you are basing your entire, because you have nothing to run on, the fact that you're basing your entire political campaigns across the nation on the abortion issue is pathetic, and it is dangerous. And this election is going to determine the course of America from here on out. And we've already, the shot across the bow's already been fired once again by the Hildebeest, who said, the Republicans had these great plans to rig the 2024 election. Isn't it amazing that the 2016 election that she lost, that was rigged? He was an illegitimate president. Remember that? But the 2020 election, when they won, that was the most honest, most well-run campaign in the history of America. Now, all of a sudden, it's going to go the other way because they see the tsunami coming.
Well, I think that's the thing, Bill. We just need to get to a point where people trust the elections. End of story, end of discussion. It's not a Republican thing. It's not a Democrat thing. Let's trust our elections.
Yes.
There are some serious questions about these machines. There are some serious questions about, how this mail-in balloting works and things like that, which, guess what? I hate to break it to everyone, but the elections belong to the people. They do not belong to these candidates. It actually belongs to the people, and we should have the right to look at things.
So do these seats. I liked when the senator who won the only time I think a Republican's been elected in Massachusetts to a Senate seat some years back was saying that they said it was Ted Kennedy's seat. It's not Ted Kennedy's seat. He said it's Massachusetts' seat. It's our seat. It doesn't belong to Ted Kennedy.
And I think that we've been fed that, Bill, and that people have been indoctrinated to believe that that's how this works. And it's like, no, we as the people, we should be able to question everything.
They work for us, not the other way around. We
Correct.
pay their salary. And it's gotten to the point where and because people don't take civics anymore, or they don't teach it, is that money is our money. They've gotten to the point where, and we've gotten, I think, to believe them, it's their money, and they're nice enough to let us keep some of it.
Exactly. Well, and I think we refer to it as the government's money. And it's actually not the government's money. It's the money they've taken from the people to fund whatever agenda they have. So voting for people that align with your values is super important. And I think also making sure that people that are going into office are fit to go into office. Last night with Fetterman, I was very concerned that they were still pushing him and that his wife is also okay with this because he is not well. And we should not be having people that really should be recovering from a stroke and not focused on this election and putting a lot of pressure on him, which is not good for the health of, John Fetterman. And we don't agree policy-wise, but that doesn't mean that I don't wish him well. And
of course not.
And he is just not the same person that he was prior to the stroke.
And you're going to send somebody to Washington for a 6-year term. Is he going to have all this closed caption stuff for him, and are you going to pay for it? Because he does want the taxpayers to pay for everything. He wants the free drug clinics that he wants the taxpayers to pay for. All of a sudden he's in favor of fracking.
Yes, and he couldn't. Here's the thing: he really couldn't defend himself very well. He just said, "I'm for fracking. I'm for fracking." He really couldn't talk to that 2018 piece. And I have a couple of clips that I want to show. Can we do those back to back?
Yeah, let's just see how that went last night.
Mr. Fetterman, I will allow a 15-second rebuttal. He has specifically said you have not paid your taxes and that you want to raise taxes on Americans. How do you respond?
Absolutely. The Oz rule, of course, he's lying. It was helping 2 students 17 years ago to help them buy their own homes. They didn't pay the bills, and it got her paid, and it has never been an issue in any of the campaign before. It was all about nonprofit.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman. Continuing with you, Mr. Fetterman, your opponent.
I must correct the record.
Just a second, Mr. Oz. I do want to clarify something. You're saying tonight that you support fracking, that you've always supported fracking, but there is that 2018 interview that you said, quote, "I don't support fracking at all." So how do you square the two?
I do support fracking, and I support fracking, and I stand and I do support fracking.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fetterman.
I'm sorry, Lisa. There's not.
It's hard to watch, Bill. It was hard to watch the whole hour of that debate because he really did struggle to put his words together and to really make a case for himself, which should be the bare minimum for a candidate to run.
Yeah, you felt so sorry for the guy, and then of course the spokesman had to come out afterward and talk about he has these cognitive issues. Well, if he's got these cognitive issues, how's he going to understand these 5,000 page bills that come in front of his desk?
Well, also, if you want to vote for him, what you're going to get is a rubber stamp. He will vote yes for every bill that the Democrats present. So I think that that's a concern too. We really want people that can represent their individual districts because that's why we're voting for them, so that they can represent what we believe. And guess what? What we believe here in Georgia is not the same thing that they believe in New York City. So we need equal representation. We don't want someone that just goes up there and votes party lines. I don't think that that's what we want.
Unfortunately, that's what we've seen from the Democrats for the last several years, that they vote in lockstep with everything that goes. When you sit there and say that every Democrat believes that you should defund the police, every Democrat believes that it's okay for millions of people to pour across our borders without being checked or anything. They think it is okay for everybody in the military and the police departments and all to get the Fauci ouchie, or you get kicked out. Oh, God bless that judge in New York that said that all the people that were of the fire department, the police department, that were fired because they wouldn't get the Fauci ouchie have to be not only rehired, but get their back pay. God bless you, sir.
Well, the funny thing is the mayor came out and said that they're still going to keep it. They do not learn lessons, Bill. They aren't following the law. Biden has done the same thing with some of the rulings. They continue to push on things that they've been told, you cannot do this, and they continue to just say, I don't believe in the rule of law, I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah, that is pathetic. We're going to follow the laws that we believe in.
Yeah, and actually, there was actually another debate last night. Lee Zeldin, who is actually governor, he's running for governor, and Kathy Hochul, they had a sparring match about the crime in New York City last night.
Yeah. We'll have that coming up for you here in just a second. But Lee Zeldin has been such a fantastic congressman, and now running for governor against this totally incompetent cretin who thinks that when she's asked about crime in New York City, said, "Well, that's just a local issue. I don't need to get involved." People are pushing people in front of trains is not a good idea.
Not only that, their tourism, Bill. Like, people don't want to go to New York because it's dangerous.
Yeah, I would love to go back to New York.
Me too.
I want to see the 9/11 memorial. I want to go back. I want to go back and see Broadway plays. I want to go back and enjoy the wonderful cuisine and some of those marvelous restaurants up there, and see the great sights and the Statue of Liberty to wherever else. Not going anytime soon.
Not until they get the crime under control. I mean, some of the videos coming out of New York are very disturbing, Bill. I mean, very scary for the citizens up there. And the fact that Kathy Hochul doesn't think it's her responsibility as governor to make sure that things are being handled in New York City, when that is one of the prime reasons people visit New York.
How do you think you're supposed to, what's the prime directive of the government? To protect its citizens. And the law-abiding, hard-working, honest, tax-paying American citizens need to be protected from these evildoers. And it is despicable that somebody who goes up and this, you've seen that horrible video, I'm sure, of this woman that's going to work, a woman of color, by the way, going to work in the subway, and she's being attacked by this despicable human being who beats her. She may lose her eyesight, at least in one eye, and nobody comes to her rescue. Some guy tried, and and they turned around and attacked him, so he ran off. But he's picked up, and he's already been arrested something like 17 times. He's got a conviction record as long as your arm, and he's back out on the street. How does that supposed to protect people?
It's not.
And then the mayor goes on the Communist News Network or wherever else he goes on.
Oh, we have a clip of that too.
Says, this is really this. If you look at all the statistics of other big cities, we're the safest of them all, and it only happens 6 times on the subways. So when you consider how many people ride the subways, that's really not a big figure.
Okay, we're going to go to the Lee Zeldin clip really quick, and then we have a clip of them
getting the guns off the streets. That's the first start. We have more to do, but I'm the one to do it.
Did you want to respond? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Unfortunately, Kathy Hochul believes that the only crimes that are being committed are these crimes with guns. And you have people who are afraid of being pushed in front of oncoming subway cars. They're being stabbed, beaten to death on the street with hammers. Go talk to the Asian American community and how it's impact them with the loss of lives. Jewish people targeted with raw, violent anti-Semitism on our streets. It just happened yet again. We need to be talking about all of these other crimes, but instead, Kathy Hochul's too busy patting herself on the back. Job well done. No, actually, right now, there should be a special session. The state legislature should come back and they should overhaul cashless bail and these other pro-criminal laws with zero tolerance. But they're saying, elect me. She says, elect me, and then you'll find out where maybe I'll stand on this issue in January.
I rode the subway yesterday, and it's the same thing. I haven't put my AirPods in for over a year because I feel like I need to be very much aware. That's quality of life issue.
You were right about, not having your iPods in, not focusing on our phone. And I say yes to that. I do the same. And we put out a video and information telling people about being aware of what's around them and what's taking place. And I encourage New Yorkers to do that.
So New York is a huge issue. I think Lee Zeldin did a great job of, really laying it out of and the fact, Kathy's face says it all. I think she just looks like she's better than everyone.
Looking down her nose. But he's talking about people getting stabbed. Lee Zeldin was that close to maybe being stabbed to death on stage by a guy who came up with I don't know exactly what it was, but it was a knife-like object. And was going right. It could have gone if he'd have hit his carotid artery. It could have been curtains.
Yeah.
And fortunately he defended himself. People came up and of course the guy was released on his own recognizance within hours. But you attack a sitting congressman on stage in public, and you don't go to jail for many moons. So he could have been the victim himself. And then 2 kids shot in front of his house. One bullet, they said, missed one of his daughters by like 90 feet or something.
Yeah, crime is out of control in New York. I hope that, I know that there are 3 governor races in play right now. One of them is New York, Oregon, and actually Illinois, surprisingly. So those 3 seats are in play.
Michigan too.
Oh yes, Tudor Dixon. She is something else. I do like her. And Carrie Lake, I'm going to tell you, those spicy ladies, they're doing
firebrand.
it. Yes.
Yeah, go Carrie Lake.
Yes.
Good
So
for her.
the candidates on the Republican side are really good at answering questions. They are direct in the way that they answer them. There's no skirting around the issue. They will answer yes, they will answer no, where on the other side, they really try to dance around the issue.
Mm-hmm. And bring it all back to Trump and abortion.
Oh, and January 6th. So we're going to go to break, but we will have more on this topic when we get back.
Yeah, coming up.
have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay, there is a point beyond which they must not advance.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
We choose to go to the moon.
Believe that life is so dear and peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery.
Today we deliver for the people of Florida yet again.
You saved our jobs.
And kept us going.
They tried to shut us down, but you saved our business.
$1,000 bonuses.
You had our backs.
And honored our service.
You led by facts, not fear.
And you let us decide.
You let me go to school.
You gave me a voice.
You put us first.
And didn't let them keep us apart.
You let us learn.
You let us compete.
All of us.
You protected our right to worship together in person.
And you raised our pay.
You protected our waters.
And kept Florida beautiful.
When they attacked you, you didn't cave.
You stood strong for Florida.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor.
Gracias, Gobernador DeSantis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor DeSantis.
The last 3 years, Georgia's been tested in ways we could never imagine. And it fell to Governor Brian Kemp to successfully lead us during these troubling times. Georgia is still first in the nation for business. Our unemployment rate is the lowest in state history. Today, people come to Georgia to succeed, start a business, raise a family. Kemp has always backed the blue, stopping the radical left from defunding local police. He passed a tough new election integrity bill that, as the governor likes to say, made it easy to vote and hard to cheat. And while some during COVID-19 shut down their economy, Kemp kept our schools and businesses open while keeping Georgians safe. A long list of accomplishments. Fighting human trafficking, increasing teacher pay, greater access to quality health care. A governor who works for Georgians. All of us. Governor Brian Kemp.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Hump Day. Glad to have you aboard 13 days out of the general election. And once again, setting record numbers here in Georgia, even with voter suppression.
I believe we've had over 16,000 people already cast a vote in Chatham County.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think we're going to have more of a presidential type turnout.
And the governor's here because there was a groundbreaking yesterday for the Hyundai and electric battery plant over in Bryan County. So a $5.5 billion investment there that they're saying they'll need about 8,100, employing about over 8,100 people once it's up and running sometime in 2025. So we've got an electric car plant that we're building nearby. We certainly are getting woke around here. But the governor was here for the groundbreaking yesterday. He's going to be at a fundraiser this evening at the Forest City Gun Club, and we'll have complete coverage of that for you tomorrow.
Yes, we will. And, you know, Bill, in the state of Pennsylvania, I don't know if you've heard any of the polling, but, you know, polling in Nevada, I believe, is up 9 points for the Republicans. But in the state of Pennsylvania, it's interesting because it's more partisan. So you have more people that are either Republican or Democrat. There's not as many independents. So very hard state to poll right now.
And but it was interesting. MSNBC actually stumbled across a bit of journalism, found out that the people, you know, it seems like that the public seems to know a lot more about politics and about the truth than any of the journalists.
Or they just play dumb. I'm not really sure which it is.
But they had a messed up DNC had a panel of 6 Trump voters.
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, people talking about January 6th.
Yeah.
And I think she got a little bit of truth that she didn't want to get.
Yeah. They actually aired it, but good on them for that.
Yeah, and I think we have that now.
Sure. Take a look.
Adriano was at the insurrection, and he was photographed breaching one of the restricted areas. Is that okay?
Which area? Because I saw a video where Capitol officers were taking away barriers and unlocking doors for people. So, I mean,
they opened the gates.
So it shouldn't be disqualifying for an elected official if they participated in January 6th?
He didn't strike anybody. He didn't hurt anybody.
And the only one that died was a protester there, not a Capitol police
unarmed
officer.
Female veteran.
That's the only one that died.
That's the only one who died.
A police officer did die.
No, it was a stroke.
That's
not on site.
Caused by that. That's because he shouldn't have been a police officer. It was one woman.
So what do you make, though, overall of January 6th? I mean, it was, watching that footage, it was pretty disturbing. I mean, there were people throwing excrement at the walls, and it was it's the Capitol.
It looked a lot like Antifa's actions to me.
Except on a much smaller scale, it looked the same as the Black Lives Matter riots.
That's what I saw, the similarities to be.
Minneapolis burns, Kenosha burns.
But so it's okay just because one side that you disagree with?
I'm saying Antifa infiltrated.
It's good for one, it's good for the other.
Anybody who harmed anybody who caused property destruction, that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah,
but if you're there making your voice heard at the people's house, no less, that's, again, it's a fundamental constitutional right of an American citizen, and people should not be being held political prisoner because of it.
For misdemeanors. That's East Germany.
That's East Germany.
Tactics.
Yeah, that's what's scary.
It was an actual fiery but mostly peaceful protest. And the other ones that were the opposite.
Was the protest legitimate in your eyes?
Administration, I feel like, is using it as their Reichstag fire.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're using it as.
Do you think that President Trump could have quelled the violence that day?
Not him personally.
I don't think so, no.
I don't think so.
It started while he was still speaking. I was actually there. I was there to see what I thought was going to be the last time I ever saw Trump in Little China.
So did he tell everybody to go and start rioting?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, and it actually, I stayed for the whole speech, like a ton of people did. And then we all headed to the Capitol because he said, let's go to the Capitol and peacefully let our voices be heard. And we get to the Capitol and we're like, what the hell's going on? Because it had already happened.
I'm pretty sure I saw Democratic operatives instigating people.
Well, she got schooled on that one, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. And I think it's important to also, they used a lot of the talking points of CNN, fiery and mostly peaceful, those types of things. So people are watching, the networks, and they're also watching a lot of the live footage and the raw footage and making their own conclusions. And I think it's a good thing for us as the American people that we can do our own research and we can look into things and ask questions where, I don't think the media loves that there are other outlets. They are not the arbiters of truth.
That's been one of the things that has been of the old school journalists when they were the only ones, when they had complete dominance back in the Walter Cronkite days, the most trusted man in America, because they had control. Ted Koppel has said that Sean Hannity is the most, it was dangerous for America, and Fox News is dangerous for America. Why? Because they're telling the truth? Because they're covering the stories properly? Who's been covering the border? Just about Fox News has been just about the only. Bill Melugin down there has been doing absolutely yeoman service. In an ideal world, he'd be the one getting the Pulitzer Prize, not the ones who lied about all the January 6th mess and all the COVID crap that have been given Pulitzer Prizes for, from the New York Slimes as well as the other networks getting Pulitzer Prizes. By the way, they still haven't taken back the Pulitzer Prize to the guy in 1936 who at the New York Times who said what a great farm program that Joseph Stalin had in Russia.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I will say that I think it's good that we can all do our own research. And, the thing is there's been so many things that we've been gaslit on that when you start to realize the lies that they've told, it's really hard to trust anyone in the government.
That is the most...
And the media.
You talked about earlier in the last segment, we talked about how we needed to trust our elections.
Absolutely.
We ought to be able to trust our government officials. I grew up in an era when you thought when the government was that was a sacred trust. This was an honor to be there. You served the people. You were there because you wanted to give back to your country and be part of preserving this great America, the greatest country that God ever gave man. And that was supposed to be somebody, you trusted the FBI. You trusted the president, the governor, your mayor, whoever it was, that this was somebody who could be making, they always say they can make a lot more money in the private sector than they are in the government. Now you can make a lot more money in the government than you can in the private sector.
Absolutely. And, what's funny is do you remember the Bundy Ranch stuff that happened?
Yeah.
Well, I heard an interview with Ammon Bundy, and he talked about how the FBI set them up. It was an incredible interview. And, that happened how many years ago? And, we're just realizing that the FBI is maybe not as honest as they've been telling us. And I think that there's been a lot of corruption. Yeah, a lot of corruption that's happened. And they no longer get the benefit of the doubt. What they've done to Americans that are innocent is not okay. The fact that they've set people up, they've lied about what people have done, and then charged them for crimes they didn't commit, and then tried to lie to judges, it's not okay, Bill. And these people should be held accountable. The problem is that the judges also don't deal with the FBI and hold the people that run these operations accountable, and they should.
Yeah, they should. The lying to the FISA court. Those people should be behind bars. But what are they? They're writing best-selling books. They're getting jobs on CNN. When you see that Peter Strzok has his job at CNN now, or wherever he is, and they're asking his analysis of a particular situation, it's just pathetic. He should be in Leavenworth, along with a lot of his other Confederates.
Yeah, I just don't understand how people can continue to trust these organizations, and that means that we need to do a better job of holding people accountable and also getting to the bottom of what's been going on. So a lot of accountability to go around, Bill.
Sure enough. Well, here at Gil Real America, we like to promote the good kids. We like to do special features, and there is a young man who is actually studying. He's studying for a medical degree at Mercer University Medical School right here in Savannah, but he's also written a book. So he's a medical student, he's an author, and his name is Tyler Beauchamp. You're going to hear about him next, and you're going to hear about his book right after this.
Let me tell you guys something. Every time I go out to speak, everybody want a sound bite. I'm going to give you a sound bite really quick. I'm sick and tired of people putting this country down. They want to ask me why I'm running. Let's be real. I'm sick and tired. You look at the economy, you look at the gas prices. You can't buy a grocery now. It's time for us to wake up. It's time for me to get out and fight. Because I'm going to tell you, I love to win. I said, put me in the game, coach. I'm ready to play. If you ever seen me play, I can play. Have you ever seen me fight, I can fight. No matter how hard they come, the harder I can fight. I'm sick and tired of this. Tell your friends to get out and vote. I'm not here to be a politician. I'm here to be a warrior. Protect this country, protect our citizens, and protect our kids. No weapon formed against me shall ever prosper. Boom! That's it, baby!
I do absolutely agree that it's racist. It is a redux of Jim Crow in a suit and tie.
America has a long history of systemic racism.
You ain't black.
America has a pre-existing condition. It's called racism.
Senator Warnock believes America is a bad country full of racist people. I believe we're a great country full of generous people. Warnock wants to divide us. I want to bring us together. I'm Herschel Walker. I approve this message.
Than anything else? You realize that? The point is, we ask so much of you. So much of you. I've not...
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And pay no attention to those huge crowds that show up for Donald Trump and the people who are paid to show up for Joe Biden. That has nothing to do with what's going to happen at the ballot box. Don't even think about that. We have a lot of great authors from the city of Savannah. Flannery O'Connor, who wrote some pretty dark stuff and died at an extremely young age of lupus. Yeah. But and her home is one of the ones that is preserved here and part of the historic district. And we have Bruce Feiler, is a good friend of mine, a New York Times bestselling author. He's written several, started out just doing books about his own life, but then he did something called Walking the Bible. And it turned into the most incredible, it sent his career off on an entirely different course on doing biblical writings and things and doing research into the Bible. Bruce is a very good friend, and I love him dearly. And we have also a lot of young writers coming along, like Tyler Beauchamp. I've known his dad for a number of years. He's teaches at SCAD and sound design, and also plays trumpet in the Savannah Philharmonic.
Oh, very cool.
And he has a great musical background, and Tyler's decided he wants to become a doctor, but also an author. He's come up with his first book that's very unusual called Freeze Frame, was signing it just recently, had a chance to speak with him recently as well about his book and how this all came about. Welcome back to Get Real America, and we're getting real with a young gentleman by the name of Tyler Beauchamp. And Tyler's dad and I, Robin, go way back. He is a trumpet player in the Savannah Philharmonic, as well as teaching sound design at SCAD. And Tyler has a chemistry degree from the University of North Carolina, now a student here at the University of Georgia Medical School, or the Mercer University Medical School, right?
Medical College of Georgia.
Medical College
They've
of
changed
Georgia.
the name probably 8 or 9 times. You're totally fine. It is the Medical College of Georgia at Augusta University, but everyone just calls it MCG.
Okay, very good. So they don't have to put all that on the check.
Yeah, right,
okay,
right.
Very
That's
good.
right.
All right, so that's excellent. Well, we brought Tyler in because we're heavily into shameless self-promotion, and he is also, in addition to being a medical student, I don't know where he finds time to do this, but he started writing at a young age, right?
I did. Probably, I think I was a junior in high school. That's when I really started writing. And
okay.
Before that, I did, my dad, we did a little bit with film and TV, so there's always like a film environment. I wanted to be a director, so I would make movies and stuff as a kid. And then I kind of transitioned from filming everybody in my household to doing some screenwriting stuff. And I really, really fell more in love with the writing side over the filming side. And then from screenwriting, I went to just novelization.
Well, you got a camera like for a Christmas present or something as a young kid or something, and made a movie or something like that? Or
I did. I pretty much filmed everyone doing everything, and I would try to make it dramatic and, make everyone crazy in my household by being like, Tyler, put off the camera. I'm like, no, you're you're a spy in this scene, as my mom's making something in the kitchen. And then I'd bring it to school and do the same thing with my friends. And I got a few people in high school to make some short films with, which was fun. But then in college, I kind of went down. I just focused more on the writing.
How did you find time to divide your time between? Because I'm a frustrated thoracic surgeon, and organic chemistry pretty much ended that. As I've told people in the past, I have a good friend of mine who was a year ahead of me, and he said, "You think this is fun? Wait till you get to physical chemistry." I said, "Oh, good God, there's something worse than this." So I never got to PChem. So, but organic pretty much took it out. And that's when I became a broadcast major. So, but at the same time, how did you manage to divide your time between writing and your studies to get a degree?
Well, I kind of blame my parents for it, with my dad being the artsy and my mom being the math and sciences. I just kind of always was split between the two.
You know how to compartmentalize.
Yeah. So honestly, it's like I'll be working in one area for a long time, and when that gets tiring, I switch over to another, and it feels a little refreshing.
Did you feel, and that's probably a great contrast. I've talked to a lot of people who, they have another hobby. Some of the young ladies that have been champion skeet shooters. And one of our friends at the University of Georgia, she's won all sorts of awards in skeet. And she said it is a great way to get away from the studies, get your mind off of it, to expel this pent up energy and stuff like that.
Right.
So this probably is kind of the same thing.
Absolutely. I mean, this is my first official work, but like whenever I needed a break from something, I would just start writing, and that was kind of always like an escape for me from other stuff.
So Tyler has published his first book. It's called Freeze Frame, which is a photographic term, and who did the artwork on the cover?
So that's a fun thing. A friend of mine in med school that I do a lot of music with. I don't know if y'all saw that music video that went around, but we did this big thing with COVID, and it got some attention. But we write music and stuff together, and
we'll have to show that.
Yeah. He is also he's been working in digital art and physical art, and when I showed him the first draft of the book, I told him I had this idea of this cover with just someone like shooting a camera right at you, looking at it, and he drew up a little bit. And the company that I worked with, they came up with like 10 or 12 different versions of covers, but I was like, can you do one version that's similar to this? So that design is actually an illustrator at the company, but it's based off of my friend's drawing. So he actually gets a little credit in the book as like inspired by Ruchey Amaroff.
Well, I love it. I love the fact that it's not in color, that it's done kind of like in charcoal or something like that. It is really, really good, and it is the graphics are absolutely fantastic. And it's based around, it looks like 35 millimeter film. Got the sprocket holes at the top and the bottom. So this is really cool. So where did you get the idea to write the book? I mean, you're still a relatively young man, and and you're in medical school, and that has to take up a lot of time. So once again, compartmentalizing the time, and where did the idea come to? I got to do this.
No, it absolutely COVID. That'll
do it.
That'll do it. In fact, that's when we did the music video too. It was COVID. We transitioned to an online med school for a time being, as weird as that sounds. But my room that I was in at the time had no windows and had no door. It was like basically a prison cell. Like the apartment complex I lived at, it should not have been an actual room.
Just gonna say it. You weren't a jacket or
no, I mean, you'd be like, I'm gonna go for a run outside, and then I'll go outside and realize it's raining, and I had no idea what the weather is because Anyway, you're studying for long hours on end in med school, and you're just surrounded by these walls, and you feel like you're in prison. And for me, the creative side of my brain will like daydream, and I'd have these little kind of like visions of like, well, I'd rather be doing this right now, or I'm suddenly doing a bank robbery, or I'm doing like a heist, or I'm doing a rom-com. It's like I felt like I was trying to escape from the room, and then I had this idea, well, what if like that was someone's real life? What if they're going about every day they would just jump in and out of reality and experience films.
Mhm.
And so I have to kind of thank COVID and the quarantine in a way, because it really put me in an environment where that came to life.
And so the book is about what?
So the book is about this high school boy who experiences a trauma, and he then transitions to a new school to kind of escape the news of the trauma. He's trying to restart.
Right.
But the trauma has kind of left him with derealization disorder and some PTSD, and the way he experiences life now is whenever his emotions get too strong, he experiences a real life film of that emotion. So like if he gets really scared, suddenly he experiences a horror movie. Or if he like falls for a girl in high school, suddenly he experiences like a romantic comedy. And he himself is he wants to be a director. So it's a little bit based off of like my little films that I made growing up. But so that's why his trauma is experienced that way, is because he sees the world as films anyway.
Mhm.
So the trauma kind of triggered this extreme version of his experiencing life that way.
Where did you get the concept? When did it come to you when you're writing this thing? How does it? Authors always have a different. They either say, some say you got to plot it out, you got to know how it ends.
Mm-hmm.
Others say you got to start writing, and it will. Stephen King referred to as fall into.
Oh yeah, so I'm the opposite of King's style, because you know he hates outlining, and he's like, I'm just gonna write 10,000 words a day. I'm gonna delete 8,000 of them.
Mhm.
And you know, respect to him, I definitely couldn't do that.
Right.
I definitely am a big outliner.
Okay.
But I like to write things based on images, and so I had everything I've written has been based on like a picture in my head. And so for this one, I had this picture of a kid walking down an auditorium where everyone in the auditorium is frozen.
Mm-hmm.
And he's experiencing this very surreal moment where they're kind of watching a moment in his life. And so that is actually a scene in the book. And from there I was like, well, what are they seeing? What is the thing that's on screen that he is scared for them to see? And what is he thinking about moving forward of how they're going to judge him seeing something that's so personal to him?
Mm-hmm.
And so literally the frozen frame is kind of what inspired the name freeze frame, which also has the play on, it's
Right.
a cinematography term. And
we are going to finish that interview tomorrow with Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler Beauchamp, and but congratulations to him on the book. He did a book signing just recently. And Tyler, thank you very much for your time. We'll have more on that coming up for you tomorrow, where we show Tyler.
Yeah.
Yes. A little technical glitch. It's believe me, Tyler, we didn't intend me to be the star of that show. So.
Yeah, and I think it's also interesting when we have so many young people doing so many incredible things. Like he's going to school to be a doctor, plus he's writing this book.
This is this is the emphasis that we want to put on the fact that we want to talk about the good kids. We want to talk about the people who are doing good things in the community. The bad ones get all the publicity from the other part of the media. What are the good kids doing? There's a story that I would like to get that has gotten very little media attention. Two Benedictine high school trainers on the football team saved a student's life, one of the players' lives, when he had a heart issue and collapsed on the practice field about 3 weeks ago, and they had to perform CPR on him. Had to get out the defibrillator, shock him, I think 3 times. And when the first responders got there, said these 2 kids saved that guy's life, and we want to feature people like that. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things going on in the community, and we want to make sure that people are aware of it, because there is also, a lot of negativity out there, and we want to focus on how to solve problems and also the people that are solving problems, right, Phil?
Exactly. So that's one of the features that we want to do on this show. So we're looking for your input. Tell us about this. I remember when I was a young sportscaster some years back.
I saw a video. It's true.
Yeah. But I remember some guy called me on the phone one day and said, you should have come out and covered our Little League team this year. We had a kid that hit 46 home runs or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
It was some phenomenal number for a child in about 11 or 12 years old. And I said, was your phone broken? Do you think this stuff comes to us by osmosis or something of that nature? we got to know about it. We can't be everywhere at once. So please, let us know.
Yeah, keep us posted on things going on, and we will get it covered. So
GRAnewsmedia.com or on our Facebook page.
Absolutely, and we are going to take a break.
Yeah, so coming right back. Talk to you about that.
Hi, this is Herschel Walker. I want to endorse Bruce Thompson as our new labor commissioner because he's going to do the best job you've ever seen for the great state of Georgia.
Listen, I'm standing here with the great Herschel Walker. We all know what's happened in our U.S. Senate, and it's time for a change. And I 100% endorse Herschel Walker to represent Georgia and the United States as we take back our country for the people of Georgia and for the United States.
God bless.
Wasteful Washington spending is killing us with inflation and sky-high prices on groceries and gas. Senator Raphael Warnock voted to allow hundreds of millions of dollars of COVID relief funds to be squandered on a luxury resort in Florida, a New Jersey soccer stadium, a ski area in Iowa. Tell Senator Warnock to start voting against reckless spending to stop inflation. Georgia families need cheaper gas and food, not frivolous luxuries in other states.
People told me politics is dirty. They're right. My opponents launched a dirty attack ad. They dug up an old video and took it out of context. My opponents think they're hurting me, but I'm glad they did this ad because it gives me an opportunity to end the stigma around mental health. Here's the truth. My ex-wife Cindy and I are good friends, along with her husband and my wife. And I am grateful for all the support Cindy gave me during the hardest time of my life. I came forward back then in an effort to save lives and to help people who were struggling. We need to end the stigma around mental health. Let me say this to anyone watching, all the veterans and people who are suffering. Your life has value. There is hope, and you're not alone. I would rather listen to a friend talk about his struggles than to go to their funeral. That's why I wrote my book about my life. But my opponents, they don't care about the truth. The fact is, Senator Warnock can't talk about his accomplishments. He's failed Georgia, so he and his friends will lie and deceive. We're going to fight back with the truth, but I need your help. I'm asking everyone to go to teamherschel.com and help me fight back with the truth. God bless.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
We're getting real. I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown. And did you know that the fair starts this week?
Does?
It does.
Good.
Here in Savannah. We are, the fair starts tomorrow and goes through Sunday. There is going to be plenty of things for you to do along with your kiddos.
Yeah, I worked with a news station one time. My motto was, if it happens in Savannah, it's news to us. So
yes, absolutely.
Glad to hear it. Yeah, the fair is always fun. We're still looking, I think, for a permanent home for the fairgrounds. Hopefully they'll find it soon. At the old fairgrounds, we should have, years ago, put a movie soundstage there, but they, once again, Savannah is really good at dragging its feet.
So what is going on with the fairgrounds, Bill? Do you know?
As far as I know, nothing so far.
Okay.
But they did surveys of the people, said, would you like to have a soundstage here? It's almost a turnkey operation. This Quonset hut that's been there, since Columbus was a quartermaster, they went through it and said, it just needs some upgrading. They did a test of the ceiling. It can hold, because they needed to have a ceiling that would hold at least 3,000 pounds of lighting equipment and things of that nature. Passed with flying colors. Said no problem there. They just needed to do some upgrading on it. And if you did that, you could start hiring kids from Savannah State and Savannah Tech and SCAD to go into and good paying jobs that start at $45,000 and $50,000. And then you'd have the other cottage things that would pop up around there, whether it be coffee shops or little drugstores or something along those lines. It would improve the neighborhood 100%. They were all in favor of it, and we've been sitting around saying, I don't know what the story is.
Interesting. We'll have to dig into that, Bill, because
they said they weren't offering enough money for it. I said, who cares? And then they turned around and said, we're going to give it to we're going to sell it for $1 to some charitable organization. I said, wait a minute, $2 million wasn't enough, but you're going to sell it to $1 for some charitable organization. The tax money that you would generate from all this other stuff that's going on would more than make up for, whatever, because what happened was the city spent too much money to buy it in the first place.
Well, that's when you say, how do we get our ROI in this investment? Because land is investment, right?
Yes, it is.
And if the city bought it, it's for the people. So I'm just saying.
They're not making any more of it.
No, definitely not. Well, we'll have to dig into what's going on with those fairgrounds. But yes, the fair will be here. I love the fair. I think it's fun. You can go, at least at our fair, we were able to buy chickens and things like that, which I thought was fun.
Were you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, my mom is very big into chickens.
You can buy chickens at this fair.
Can you? Yeah.
They're already cooked, but
okay.
you can buy some. There's the chicken on a stick or whatever it is that they have on those things.
Yeah, that's not what my mom does. She likes to go look at the fair and see the prize-winning chickens at the fair, and then she purchases them. But she's funny.
Prize-winning chicken.
Yes, we have those at my parents' home in Utah. So, anyways, moving on. We have a lot to talk about. Man, did you hear that there was actually a vote that took place on student loan forgiveness? Did you hear that?
Oh yeah.
I missed it. I didn't realize that
it's
Congress
been
had
forgiven.
Well, I don't think that they actually voted on it. I think we have a clip here from President Joe Biden.
Well, let's see.
Secondly, if you don't have one of those loans, you just get $10,000 written off. It's passed. I got it passed by a vote or two.
That was actually done by executive order, I believe, under the emergency powers.
And if you remember, San Fran Nan last year said the president can't do this.
I think Obama said the same thing.
Yeah. So the president can't do this. This is something, money bills come through Congress.
Yes, and
an executive order couldn't come under that category.
He seems to think that they voted on it. They did not vote on it. And also, I think that there's a stay-in order at the moment. A judge ruled on this, and they are not moving forward with student loan forgiveness right now, even though they opened up the website on Friday, and they had a flooding of people sign up. Millions of people signed up for this forgiveness. So we'll see where it goes, Bill. But I believe there's 5 states that sued the Biden administration, and so that it's in the courts now, and it's going to be on appeal.
But at least was it a website that actually worked? Because when the Dalai Lama came up with the Obamacare, and they came up with this website that they spent $2 billion on from a company in Canada that was so bad that even the Canadians had fired them. But we used them anyway. And
why is the U.S. using Canadian companies?
You couldn't register. It was just it was a disaster.
Well, my first thought is we should never be outsourcing to another country. We should always do things in-house, and I thought that was a rule of the government, but maybe I'm mistaken. The other thing is, Bill, I do believe they did have some issues. I think that there was just a lot of people getting on at the same time trying to really get their student loans forgiven, $10,000
well,
at least.
But as one of the congressmen pointed out when that whole Obama debacle took place, said, 1-800-Flowers doesn't crash on Valentine's Day. We know how to do this. In fact, they talked to a lot of IT experts who said, we could have done that website for, a couple of $1 million, not a couple of $1 billion.
Well, I think that's the thing this is why I think transparency is so incredibly important in the government, and why we should have, the American people should be able to see the bill for that and say, okay, wait a minute, because there's enough of us that do things for a living that we understand that that's not what it costs.
The Dalai Lama ran on that. He said this is going to be, and you heard him and Nancy Pelosi saying the same, this is going to be the most honest, open, when you hear a Democrat say this is going to be the most honest and open government in history, you know that they're lying. But of course they're lying when their lips are moving, but nevertheless, Obama ran on that. He said, we're going to be, before we pass any legislation, it's going to be posted on our website for at least 5 days in advance. Usually they're given, these guys these days, they're given 5 minutes, and an 800-page bill is put before them, and you're supposed to find out. First of all, I want to know who writes all this stuff.
Oh, it's pieced together by different people in the senators and congressmen's office.
Rush Limbaugh said, the only reason that this stuff comes out like this is that the liberals, because Satan never sleeps, they will not go away. No matter what comes out of this election, you have to be diligent 24/7 because they are relentless. They will never stop. They're never going to change their philosophy. They're always going to try to destroy this country, and they're going to try to deceive you. But he said they've got 30 years of all this stuff that's been sitting in a drawer somewhere of their wish list. And the rock candy mountain that they live on. This is dream world. It must be nice on that planet that they live on.
You know, Bill, I would love to agree with you, but I don't think it's just the Democrats that have really put us in the position that we're in. I think Republicans are just as much to blame, but us as the people have not held them accountable, and that's what we need to start doing. We need to start putting pressure on the people that represent us to make sure that they're doing the things that we elected them to do.
It's like we're supposed to be the board of directors.
Exactly.
You know, we're supposed to say, how did you do today? Okay, you came up with this piece of legislation, you came up with this program, it's not working, let's get rid of it, let's don't spend more money on it. And what bothers me so much is that when we have a successful program, they want to either eliminate it or they want to limit the budget, cut the budget. There is a wonderful program that we finally got here, but it took a long time, called Starbase. That is a government-funded program for fifth graders on learning about aviation and rocketry, and it's a wonderfully successful program. It's run on military bases. There's usually 2 per state. They used to have one at the Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort. I don't know why they lost it, but they did. But we have one here at Hunter Army Airfield. It is the only one that's on an Army base in the country. And fifth graders go there. It's a once-a-week class where they go there and they learn how to navigate aviation-wise. Gulfstream has pitched in to help out with this, but they actually fly an airplane, and they have to figure out the navigation, how to fly from here to Charleston and then back. And one of the things of one of the parts of the course is building an actual device that flies. They have that's part of their. It's supposed to they build these rockets and all that have to work. And it is a marvelous program. It's extremely popular. The fifth grade teachers love it because they can use it as a discipline tool. Okay, you act up in class this week, you ain't going to Starbase. And suddenly they are straight arrows.
Well, what does that say about how we're educating kids, too? I think that the hands-on stuff is the way we should be educating.
Exactly.
Sitting in a classroom all day, it's not effective.
Yeah, like I say, extremely successful, but they are having all sorts of, that they have to just get their knees bloody begging for funds for this, when that ought to be automatic. Okay, you're getting this and even some more. We're going to get more fifth graders involved in this.
Yeah, well, I think that we need to hold our representatives accountable, which we have not done a good job. We've been on autopilot as the American people, and we need to get involved and understand what people are voting on and push them to do the things that we've elected them to do.
Yeah, and you got to vote. You got to vote. Be an educated voter. That is part of your duty as an American citizen, or we will not keep this country free. This election coming up in 13 days is vital.
Yes, and there actually is a voter guide that I'm aware of. It's actually on the SEGRA website, segra.us. Look at the voter guide. We give some reasoning as to what to vote for the amendments and our reasoning behind them. You may disagree with them, but it gives you at least a place to start.
Yeah, so know what you're going to be voting for before you go into the poll. It's going to take you less time to vote, too, when you read the particular bill that's being introduced on whether or not you should vote for it. And we're going to be talking with Governor Kemp tomorrow. He's in town.
Yes, so we will
join us with the Thursday edition.
We have a lot going on. So check us out on YouTube, Vimeo, GRAnewsmedia.com. You can also catch us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in. See you tomorrow.
Take care. God bless.